Welcome, everyone. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here tonight. Now, tonight, we got to talk about something. And there's this viral video of a father escorting his son to the prom. I have with me someone who is joining me today. I'm going to bring him in, my special guest. All right. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, Linda B. How you doing?
All right, we have MJ of WTF For Real. I'm going to leave the link to his podcast in the description below. You guys have got to check him out. Now, you know what we're talking about today, right?
I do.
Yeah, and I told you about this video that's been going around, and I've seen it. You haven't seen it. And it is about a father escorting his son to the prom. Now, we are going to take a look at this right now. You guys are gonna get a genuine reaction because he has not seen this. Let's check it out. Let's check it out.
My husband surprised his son by taking him to the prom.
Don't mess up that makeup, gather. Oh my God! You made him cry. Wait. Let him fall on the floor. Let him fall. Let him fall on the floor. Oh, poor baby. Oh. Hold on. Get so hard. Get it on. Yes. Look up. Oh, Mello's crying. He didn't know his pop was gonna be there. He's crying. This is monumental. I know. Oh. All right, come on. I need pictures. Excuse me. I love the candidness. Let it know. Let it go. Okay, emotion.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, there you go. So, so tell me your thoughts.
I mean, I might need a minute. I mean, I heard. I mean, I could see that. My first thought was, is the dad for real? Is he for real? I don't have any sons, but I have a hard time believing that my son, if I did, that they would be dressing, in a dress for the prom. Like, it makes me wonder if the dad was in his life, and so that was my first thought. Was like, is this dude for real? Like,
well, it said my husband is taking our son to the prom.
Yeah.
So
I saw that.
I'm thinking he wasn't. I can't explain this one. I don't know these people. And it is full face of makeup, pressed out long hair, nails, it's a suit like at the top, but it's a dress at the bottom, and the fan. I mean, it's totally Billy Porter, if you know who Billy Porter is.
Yeah. There's a word that, has been my hashtag word for the year. And I mentioned it to you before the stream, is lunacy. And that is the definition of lunacy to me. I'm a believer, like, listen, man, if you can believe what you want, but, thankfully we don't all have to subscribe to it.
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to subscribe to that, but the world is going that way. But the true believers, I'm a believer, you are as well, and we don't subscribe to that. We lead with love, but I just got to say, this, in my opinion, is not it's not a good thing. And it's like the mother, and if I were to guess, and I'm just guessing because I don't know these people, I'm totally guessing, and I admit that, I bet you the mother was more for it than the father. If I had to
Absolutely.
guess, um, women in each ethnic group, as I told you all in another stream, are more liberal than the men are. In each ethnic group is just it, definitely with black men and women, but everybody. And the mother was like, "Oh, I mean, she used the right pronoun. He, he's crying, and did call him son. He's crying. Don't mess your makeup. Oh, and really doting with it. The father was just kind of like standing there being,
Yeah.
but he wasn't like, I guess he couldn't because he would
I
be
mean,
like,
and that's why that was my first thought was, is he for real? Because it's one thing to be supportive, but I feel like in everything that I do, I try to do it in the most genuine way.
mm-hmm,
I'm not going to be able to support that unless it's from a distance. And that's just because if it goes against my core values and my core beliefs, like it doesn't mean that. Now, let me not get it misconstrued. Like I have people in my family that are in, that community, and I love them,
mm-hmm,
regardless of what they believe. Now, I don't have to understand it or agree with it to love them,
mm-hmm.
but I'm not taking you to the prom.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at. It looked like the mother and the women were all in. They were helping with the makeup and fixing of the hair, just that body language. Whereas the father was just kind of like standing there, but that's not his forte anyway. Because you think about it, he looks like a regular man that just kind of went along with it. I
Hmm.
don't. If I had to guess, he is not too happy with it.
Well, he didn't look very comfortable. And
Yeah, he
that's
looked
why I was
uncomfortable.
wondering, like, if that's not something that you're completely comfortable, and I'm also a photographer, so I know like how someone is feeling is going to show up in an image, and even more so in video. You can't hide those things.
Hmm.
It just comes out. All you have to do is pay attention. And the first thing I noticed was like, man, this does not look like an ideal situation for this brother to be in. Um, Not for nothing, I have to rewatch that video, but I don't recall seeing too many other dudes in the video but him.
No, I don't.
So,
I don't think I saw
I
any.
mean, other than his son, and I'm gonna call it what
Hmm.
it is. Somebody used his correct pronoun. I'm so glad we're gonna be getting away from that nonsense at some point
Yeah.
soon. But they call him his correct pronoun. He's a boy. Period.
Hmm.
I don't care. You
Big
know,
too.
and that's the biggest thing. It's like you can dress up. All right, let me just say that I used to hear this saying a long time ago. This little thing, if it, and this is not in reference to the kid per se, but just in general, you can dress a pig up in a tuxedo and put cologne all over him. But at the end of the day, he's a pig.
Yeah, even if you
It
put
doesn't
lipstick on
matter.
it.
Ex- exactly. You can put lipstick on a pig and it's still a pig. So I mean, at the
Mhm.
end of the day, it is what it is. And and the further we get into this year, we're already in April, and I'm like, we still. My thought thinking is like, damn, we still doing this.
I know. And he probably, I don't know how he got that way. When I hear people's testimonies of how God delivered them from that lifestyle, there usually is something happened to them. Someone touched them inappropriately. There was some
Hmm.
sexual violations involved. I don't know if you saw the Donnie McClurkin testimony where he talked about how his uncle violated
Yeah,
him when he was 8.
I
And
remember that.
how if it hadn't been for God, he would be homosexual to this day. He took
Right.
the mask off. And other testimonies is being people touched inappropriately or exposed to pornography. And so it's some kind of sexual deviancy in there somewhere, usually. Not saying it is in every case, but every time I hear a testimony, that's in there. Every time,
And
all the testimonies I've heard, I will say that. And I just wonder if something happened to him or if it's just something pushed at their school, because public schools in blue areas were kind of pushing some kind of ideology and the books. In North Carolina, I know you said you live in North Carolina. I know at one time Mark Robinson, before he ran for governor, he was talking about getting these filthy, disgusting books out of the school. So they were pushing that hard.
Yeah. I mean, they banned it, like pornography is banned in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you
It's
know?
good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at least that's what I read.
Yeah.
And so actually my brother told me that that was the case down here, because I didn't know when I moved here that this was the Bible Belt.
Yes.
I had no idea. He was like, "Yeah, man, it's the Bible Belt here, man. They don't have this and this and this and this." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." But
I'm not into that anyway. So
yeah, so like for me, right. So for me, it's like when I think about this, this issue, as it relates to the video, it's like for me, and in relation to what you said about like, the abuse and different things that triggers or bring upon this type of behavior. For me, it's like, number one, I don't know, and it's very likely that these are church folk. It's very likely. We don't know that from the
we
video,
don't
but it's
know.
very likely. But I would say that is, irrespective of everything, like I think therapy is something that people need to take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes, not sometimes, but I think in cases like this, especially when you're dealing with the youth,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you really need to utilize professional help, because it is definitely something that can be of a benefit. And I think as a community, especially in the Black community, I think therapy is not something that's looked upon as helpful. I can say that with experience, because I remember when I was a kid, we used to think that, going to therapy and seeing someone was for crazy people.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I used to say that all the time, even as an adult, up until the point where I actually got therapy for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say that how beneficial it was for me. And I didn't have any of the type of issues that we're looking at today, but we all have something that
Something.
we struggle with and deal with, to have, and we need a very objective, ear.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that sometimes we need that, and we could use that. I think this is something that's lacking with that, because I hear constantly that, oh, well, they were born that way. I'm sorry. I don't agree with
They
that.
want to push that. My husband and I were watching a TV show, and there was this patient. I was watching Chicago Med, and this little boy that was queer, and he didn't want to tell his parents, but the mother was hard against it and was acting like it wasn't a thing, pretending she was like in denial. And the
Hmm.
father was like, no, I'm going to support him. He's still my son. And the psychiatrist said, people are born this way. You can't, people are just born this way. It's an innate thing, just like hair and skin color and all that. That was a line that one of the characters was saying, because that is what they want us to believe. But when I'm telling you, when I hear people's testimonies, they don't say that.
Of course, they
So
won't say it. I
maybe
mean,
it's true in some instances. I'm not saying it's never that way, but every time I hear someone saying the Lord brought me out, they give me this incidents when they were inappropriately touched or were exposed to pornography. So I don't buy that, what they're selling. I got to believe somebody, and I choose to believe the person that's up there crying, giving their testimony.
right? No, I completely agree with that. I just definitely disagree with the things that how they portray it and
Mhm.
how they illustrate it. But I mean, it's not truthful. And even if you lean into science, it's not going to make any sense. Because I think for people in the church world to say, "Yeah, I was born this way," then that's a contradiction to your faith.
Mm,
Basically, you're saying that God made a mistake
mm,
to
mm.
say that you were born that way. So I mean, you have to go back and look at yourself in the mirror.
I wonder, because some people, we're born in sin, and that is a sin. So I don't know if you, I don't know. I'll just say I don't know.
I mean, I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
either, but all I can say is, if you want to say that God doesn't make mistakes, and then say,
Mhm.
"Well, I was born a man, but I'm really a woman, or I feel
Now
like a
that one
woman,"
right
then
there with the body
that's a
switching,
that's a contradiction.
it is a contradiction because
Even in the behavior, like I know the Bible, I've read it 100 times back and forth. Like, I got to take you to Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, what was that all about?
there were men that were trying to get with the men that God was trying to lead out. It was like, you got any
Yeah,
sons that we could. I'm like, what? I mean,
yeah,
that was a problem way back then. And I gotta say too, I feel like there is a push to put it on the Black community, because when I see a lot of stars out in Hollywood, like your Billy Porters, your RuPauls, what's that lady's name? Cynthia Erivo, that was in Wicked.
yeah.
It looks to me, from my vantage point, that there is a real push to make Black people that way. And and I live not far from Atlanta, so you go to Atlanta downtown on the weekend. Woo!
It's I haven't been to Atlanta in over 20 years now, and
Yeah.
I live close to it now. And I sometimes I think about going down there to do some photo shoots, and then I always second guess, like, do I really want to go to Atlanta?
Just
I have
go.
family in Atlanta, and that I really want to see. So I mean, it's like, yeah, do I
Yeah,
really
I mean,
want to
you're
go?
going to see that there, especially on the weekend. If you hang around Piedmont Park or downtown area, you go to Atlantic Station. We went there for our honeymoon, not knowing, not even thinking about that, and that's all I saw.
Yeah.
As I don't even know if I saw straight couples except us. I'm like, did I see some straight couples? I'm trying to think. But yeah, that's how it was. I mean, they were literally everywhere, just
Wow.
like they were everywhere. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's a push on Black people. I mean, I really do, because I just feel like it's a push on Black people, and you just see it a lot. You just see it a lot, and they always make the Christian look like some out of date, harsh, mean, unloving person when you look at a
Yeah.
TV show or a movie, and they end up turning around by the end of the movie saying, I accept you, you're beautiful just the way you are, and saying something like that. So our culture has gone to the left. So
Yeah. So I mean, this particular story though, just for me, it's this is just one
yes,
that you're showing. I can't imagine how many more is like this.
yes.
And how many fathers are actually doing that? Like,
You
I'm not
know,
gonna say that dude isn't a man, but you got to you got to stand 10 toes down and say this
oh,
is what it
true.
is and
Like,
what it's
what's going
not to
on
me,
with you? What
because I feel
happened?
like, yeah, like at some point you got to say something,
And
because he didn't look comfortable. And if he said that he was 100% comfortable, then brother, I can tell you, you're probably
it
not
didn't
telling the
look
truth.
like it. Now the mother and all those women, I don't know which one was the mother, but they were like, oh, oh, don't just let me hit don't mess your makeup. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? And I was listening to this podcaster. He was he's the one that made me want to do a reaction to this. And he was like, boy, if I'd have done that, my father would have just slapped me. He said, boy, you better get yourself somewhere.
I mean,
I
there
mean,
was a
it would
time.
not go well.
Yeah, I mean, Linda B, I'm a Gen Xer, and we wasn't raised like that. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, if I had come home and told my dad that I wanted to put on lipstick, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today.
I know. We would never know you, MJ.
Nah, yeah, it would have been. I would have been done. It would have been game over. My
Game
dad didn't.
over for you.
Yeah, we grew up old school. I mean, it was not. There was nothing like that around here. Like we were raised as men, and I think part of that is society. There's less, and this is part of, like, even what I had spoke to you about earlier. Like I do a lot of music reactions. So
Mhm,
I've been recently introduced to a lot of Ty McDonald music, and a
mhm,
couple of weeks ago he released a song, Can't Cancel All of Us.
mhm.
And it just speaks to the woke culture. And in that, there's different things within the song, that, and one of them is, speaking against masculinity and the
Mhm.
attack on
There is an
masculinity.
attack on
And
masculinity, true
you know
masculinity. Yeah.
right, where men
Mhm,
can't, at one point men could, and I think now we're turning a corner. I
mhm.
feel like we're turning a corner where
Yeah.
men, like even in the Super Bowl, like men can be men again and feel proud to be a man again and do
That's
manly things
true.
and do the
Yeah.
things that we want, that we're typical of doing. you know, just some man stuff. And
Just
so
man
like
stuff. Yeah,
I feel
hunting,
like,
watching
yeah, hunting,
football,
fishing,
just
football, just
fixing
kick
on
back.
things. Then
Yeah, yeah, men stuff, you know. And so like, you know, outside of the halftime show at the Super Bowl, I thought all the commercials were geared towards men, and I was happy to see that. You know, and the halftime show, we'll probably have to run this back on that, because I don't know if you covered that. I had mixed emotions at first, and then I came back to myself and said, I don't know if I like that. But that's a whole nother conversation.
that's a whole
But
other
I feel
conversation.
like, yeah, but I do feel like, you know, there had been such an attack on masculinity, and you can even see it in society, even in, and not to make this political, even if you look at the last 4 years and the agendas that came out, and was just rampant in society, not just here but abroad too, because I think abroad has worse of a shot on reversing it than it does here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
but just
I'm
yeah,
just I'm just happy to see people be in their correct roles the way God made us. I think it's turning a corner in the right direction. And I'm happy to see that, because I was just like, what's wrong with a man being a man? What's wrong with the man being the head of the household? Isn't it supposed to be that way? I mean, they were shooting down everything godly.
yeah, and so women started replacing men, you know, and no, listen, shout out to all the independent women out there, but how do y'all like that? You know, that's the
Yeah.
question I pose to y'all. How do y'all like it? Because I
Mm,
can guarantee you, the majority of y'all don't like it,
I didn't-
because what y'all doing is just, pretending to be men. And I'm not saying
Wow.
in the sense of being a man, because I know y'all aren't men, but the traditional things that men do,
You're right.
that's all you're doing. You're not doing
Mm,
anything special. Sorry to
uh,
say that. And you know, and I'll just say, you can't cancel anybody, because I'm just gonna sell the truth. Like,
we
how
tell
do
the
y'all
truth
like
here.
that?
Yeah, we tell the truth here.
All y'all doing is pretending to be men, because y'all ain't doing nothing that men don't do. Now, if you gotta say that men ain't, you know what? I'll say this: y'all just dealing with the wrong ones. But
Mm,
y'all out there, just y'all ain't doing nothing special. But I say that to say that in and of itself is what part of the things that I feel like has kind of put a monkey wrench in society. And I know in our last conversation we talked about relationships, and
mhm.
I have never seen this many. And I'll just say, for the black community, and it's overall, but especially in the black community, I've never seen this many single folks.
Mm.
You
People
know,
aren't really getting married like they used to. And I do see that. And I really see it with Black people. And there's a huge percentage of Black women that may never get married, I mean, seriously, may never get married, like a huge percentage, like almost half. And
statistically speaking, the cards are stacked against them.
mhm, yeah.
In
And
30 years, it's going to be game over.
mm. All right, well, that's it for today's show. Don't forget to like this video, comment, share, subscribe, hit all notifications so that you never ever miss a video that I post. You all be blessed, and until next time.